Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Well, you know, we tried to warn them that it would all be in vain, but of course they didn't want to listen and they doubled down on the stupidity, and now we're in FAFO territory. You know, it's so funny, these Democrats love to cosplay as guardians of democracy, but then of course the moment democracy doesn't go their way, they throw a full-on tantrum, and in this case they bolted to the damn airport, broke quorum, and tried to shut down the entire democratic process. The people of Texas elected their representatives to show up and legislate, to vote. But instead they got these no-shows who fled to a blue state so they could stay at J.B. Pritzker's hotel and film frickin' TikTok videos. You know, it's undemocratic and a total dereliction of duty. And now the boomerang of justice is coming back. There's now a petition aimed at the state Supreme Court to greenlight the ultimate accountability move, and that's removal from office for abandoning their constitutional duties. And please spare me the peaceful protest spin. In any real job, if you ditch your post, you get fired. And so now the legal question being asked is, are lawmakers allowed to sabotage the legislature by destroying quorum on purpose and then simply come back to their positions and keep their seats as if nothing happened? Well, if the answer is no, well, things are about to get real interesting. I guess you could say it's payback time. Texas Republicans won't let this go. Let me show you guys everything that's going on. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so let's first start off with the Supreme Court angle. As we already know, the state of Texas has tools to deal with quorum breaking. The House can compel attendance, they can levy fines, and even expel members with a 2/3 vote. But now there's a Supreme Court petition that wants to push it a step further. Texas Republicans are asking the state's highest court to affirm that serial coordinated quorum busting is dereliction of duty. It's not free speech. And they're now asking for a clear path for removal. Now, courts don't generally run the chamber, there's the separation of powers, but they do rule on constitutional questions. And the question is it unconstitutional to purposely shut down the House because you aren't getting what you want? And well, you can imagine if the Texas High Court decides that what the Democrats did was unconstitutional, well, a whole lot of Democrats might be getting removed from office, plain and simple. The goal here is to close the loophole that Democrats are clearly abusing, to turn quorum breaking from a publicity stunt that gets you all kinds of fundraising dollars and recognition to now a career-ending move. If you engage in this behavior and you do not come back, you are out. Now, I personally believe that that's the right thing to do in these cases. You know, these Democrats cannot keep getting away with their subversion of democracy, but it's not guaranteed that the Supreme Court is going to side with Republicans here. And so I guess that's where the contingency plan comes in, with the Texas House now increasing the penalties for quorum breaking walkouts. I guess the goal here is to make life as miserable as possible for people who engage in this pathetic behavior. The daily fines have been increased just recently to $600 a day, which is much more than what these Democrats are earning in salary. And of course you might be thinking, well, I don't think the Democrats care about the fines. They'll pay it off with the increased fundraising that they're receiving. But if you think about it, you know, people aren't even really talking about this Texas redistricting story anymore. It's kind of fallen off the radar, as most hoaxes usually do. And so eventually, the fundraising won't be able to keep up, especially considering how many Democrats broke quorum. $600 a day per Democrat, it starts to add up. And eventually, they'll be put in the position where they're going to have to back off, especially considering how useless and incoherent the point is. And now moving on to the second penalty, if you break quorum, you'll be hit with a loss of seniority perks, meaning no committees, no influence. Also recently passed is a fundraising ban while hiding, meaning if you break quorum and then leave the state, if you try fundraising during that moment, that's a $5,000 penalty per donation. So no, not per day, not per fundraiser, but per donation, meaning if somebody gives you $1 for your pathetic little effort, you'll have to pay $5,000 in return. And of course, as we already know, law enforcement has the authority to hold you back to the chamber. And so basically, no matter how you look at this thing, it's like I said earlier, this is FAFO frickin' territory. I don't think the Democrats will be breaking quorum anytime soon. And really, as I just mentioned, the craziest part is that all of this was for nothing. I mean, literally for nothing. It's not like they stopped the legislation, they didn't change the vote. No, all they did was abandon their post, abandon their jobs, leave hundreds of thousands of Texans without representation, and totally and utterly embarrass themselves on national TV.
We're not here to play political games. We're here to demand an end to this corrupt process.
Who's ready to tear up this slip?
I refused. I refused to sign the permission slip to be able to leave the Capitol I disagree with that authoritarian tactic that they have taken. I will have to stay here. I hadn't really given much thought.
We had 2 chairs that we put together. He slept in 2 chairs. I slept in 2 chairs. Our other colleague, Vince Perez, he slept in a couple chairs. We need to shake things up and make some good trouble to have good change.
You know, after the national conversation surrounding this topic, pretty much everybody understands at this point that not only did the Democrats not have a point, not only did they fail to make a point, but that they're actually more guilty of what they're accusing the Republicans of doing. The whole strategy was hypocrisy from the start, calling Republicans authoritarians while trying to shut down the democratic process because they were unhappy that Republicans were doing what they do in every big blue state. Democrats call this civil disobedience, but I call this pure moronic action. And you know, maybe the goal here was to actually trigger a response from Governor Abbott and Texas Republicans, so then they could do what they always do in these instances, play the victim, the same woe is me act. But honestly, I don't think I've seen any sympathy develop for these absolute clowns. No, in fact, I think quite to the opposite, they've once again completely and utterly exposed themselves. Again, the Democrats engaging in pathetic performative theater. All this effort, all this money, all this action for nothing, just to create a drama. You know, all the while there's actual important issues that ought to be addressed, but nope. Democrats are focused on their pathetic theater. They're focused on creating a reality TV show. You know, they didn't change the outcome. All they did was prove that they can't be trusted with the work. And I think that's a point that really resonates with normal people. Everybody has to show up. You got to show up to work. If you ghost your shift, you don't get paid. You don't get applauded as some sort of hero. Well, maybe if you're trying to start a union at Starbucks, I'm sure the TikTok crowd will love you. But your bosses, your executives, they're going to fire you. And I think that's an acceptable standard. You know, consequences are healthy. And in this case, the consequences protect voters from pathetic performative politics and the clear subversion of the will of the voters. So absolutely, yes, hit them with fines, increase the fines, strip their perks, send the cops and drag them back to the house, and ultimately, hopefully, let the courts decide that repeat offenders, people who have proven to be engaging in a coordinated effort to shut down the house, those people should be shown the door. They should be removed from their positions. That, in my view, is an acceptable standard. Free speech is a verbal protest. You want to win on the ideas, win the next election, flip the state blue, and win democratically. That's free speech. Ditching your post and your constitutional responsibilities is anything but. And I think that's pretty clear for most people who have their heads screwed on straight. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.